She insulted and bullied Horia because she determined that Horia did not dare to make trouble. But she didn't expect that the rabbit would bite in a hurry. Horia dared to talk to herself like this. However, she did not dare to choke with Horia right away. After all, Ragnar had indeed ordered that if she annoyed Ragnar, it might affect the rise of the Wilson family. Thinking of this, she snorted and said, "Okay, since Mr. Ragnar asked us to let go of our prejudices, then I don't have the same knowledge as you, but I still advise you to figure out your own situation. In this family, you are a sinner. There must be a sense of atonement at all times." Although Horia was upset in her heart, she did not continue to argue with the old lady. Instead, she said blankly, "The food is ready, let's eat." However, although she didn't say anything on the surface, she hated the old lady deeply in her heart. She completely understood that Mrs. Wilson's attitude would only get worse in the future, not better. If the Wilson group continues to move up, Mrs. Wilson's posture will definitely be higher. She couldn't help but sighed inwardly. This dead old woman, if only she could fall a bit hard. Horia followed the Wilson family into the restaurant with resentment towards Mrs. Wilson. Mrs. Wilson sat down directly on the main seat of the dining table and glanced at Horia's cooked food. She frowned dissatisfiedly and said, "Why are all home-cooked dishes? I don't have any hard dishes. Don't know I'm old. Do you not need to replenish your body?" Horia said with a bit of a grieved tone, "Mom, you can't blame me for this. The money in the family is yours. I only have a few hundred in total. How can I afford to buy a lot of big fish and meat?" Mrs. Wilson coldly snorted, "I know you can find a reason. You can buy a chicken for a few hundred, right? A local chicken is only $100, can't you afford it?" Horia was very angry and said, "Mom, 5 people in the family eat. You don't pay me living expenses. I am also a clever woman who can't cook without rice. There is still pork in this meal today, and I might not even be able to eat meat for the next meal." Mrs. Wilson glared at her. "The living expenses are okay, but you have to be reimbursed. In the future, you will go to a regular supermarket to buy food and come to me for reimbursement with the receipt." Horia knew that the old lady was really afraid of getting her money used elsewhere. Horia felt a little disgusted when she thought that she might have to buy vegetables for hundreds every day and reconcile the reimbursement with the old lady. But she didn't show it. She just said smoothly, "Okay, since Mom is not too troublesome, then we will check the accounts once a day from now on." Mrs. Wilson smiled sarcastically. "I don't find it troublesome. The old lady is very energetic." Horia didn't pick her up with interest, picked up the bowl and took a couple of mouthfuls. Wendy next to her was flipping her phone while sipping her food, and then said to Mrs. Wilson, "Grandma, can I apply for an image fee with you?" Mrs. Wilson frowned and asked, "What image fee?" Wendy behaved and said, "Grandma, look, I am now the commercial director of our Wilson Group. This commercial director usually specializes in external affairs. After going out, it represents the image of our company. So my dress, even cosmetics and skincare products have to meet our company's positioning." Mrs. Wilson gave her a white look, and said, "Don't be arguing with me here, just say what you want." Wendy said, "Grandma, I want to apply for $100,000 to buy a bag, buy new clothes, and buy some cosmetics and skincare products." $100,000? Mrs. Wilson coldly snorted, "Do you really think our family's money was brought by the wind?" Wendy said aggrievedly, "Grandma, didn't Mr. Ragnar give us tens of millions? The funds in the company's account are also quite abundant. 100,000 is nothing to us." Mrs. Wilson said angrily, "Isn't that what? I tell you, money is because you always think that 100,000 is nothing, 200,000 is nothing, and even 1 million is not much. Little by little, we defeated the Wilson Group. So from now on, we must seize this opportunity of rebirth from the ashes, and we must not make any mistakes we made before." Wendy was also a little unhappy, and muttered with a little emotion, "After so long and hard days, I don't even have a decent set of cosmetics now, so I will go out to discuss business and cooperation in such a disheveled manner. I'm sorry for the reputation of our Wilson Group. Besides, my bags were sold cheaply for the sake of food, etc. Now I don't even have a good bag. Wouldn't I be laughed at when I go out?" Mrs. Wilson waved her hand impatiently. Okay, don't come to this set with me. The bag problem will be solved. Just buy a fake one. Buy a fake Hermes. Wouldn't it be worthwhile to carry it out? What's the face? Wendy was anxious, choked up and said, how can I say that I am also the commercial director of the Wilson Group? If I'm caught by a fake Hermes when I go out. What a shame if I am found out. Mrs. Wilson sneered and said, you know what a bullshit. If you have a noble status these days, you just carry a fake bag, which is true in the eyes of others, but if you have a humble status, you are even saying the truth. In the eyes of others, he is also a fake. The Wilson Group is now in Phoenix Nirvana and it is a rebirth from the ashes. In the eyes of outsiders, you are the commercial director, naturally contain a lot of gold. Even if you carry a fake bag, no one will think that is fake. Wendy was depressed. Grandma, even if you don't look at it, if I am the commercial director of the Wilson Group, even if I am your granddaughter, giving me 100,000 is not too much, right? Mrs. Wilson snorted. Don't come to this set. It's only 10,000. You want it. Don't pull it down. Wendy was extremely depressed, but when she thought of 10,000, if she didn't want it, then she would lose all that as well.